Hey guys, Andy here. I have with me today the Doogee X5. You may have watched the unboxing already. I've used the device for, I'm just going to say a little while, and I'm going to give you now my thoughts on it. Now, quite often I say I've used the device for a week, I'm ready to tell you about it. I can't lie, I only used it for a few hours and realised, wow, this is a budget device. There's no getting around it. It's not like a Xiaomi budget device like I've had in the past, which, is still £150. So this thing, you can get this thing for like £35 on Amazon. It is a proper budget device, and it does behave like a budget device. Now, don't stop watching, because I know that sounds very negative, but, well, I would say watch on, please, and we'll explain as we go. So, we'll talk about the design. It is a little plasticky. Things do creak a little bit when you press on them. You probably can't hear it because of my directional mic, but that's creaking away, for example. But I do like the sort of the flat back, my sort of slabber phone design, as I've called it. It's a little bit weird. There's kind of a lip to the rear case. You can see if I pull that away. But that's not. I mean, it's not crazy wafer thin, cheap fielding plastic. And actually, when it's all together, it feels pretty solid. So, and it, all in all, I think it actually looks quite a nice device. Power button and volumes they're good solid buttons. It comes in black or white. The black apparently is cheaper. Again, we'll come to that later on, I suppose. But yeah, all in all, I think the design is actually pretty good. We've got the capacitive buttons down the bottom there, as you can see. Strangely, I think that is a menu button, not a task switcher, which is well, okay. I've got quite used to having the task switcher there though, but there we go. Hardware-wise, the CPU is a MediaTek 6580 quad-core 1.3 gigahertz. There's 1 gig of RAM and 8 gig of storage. It only Geekbenches around 1100, which is pretty low. There aren't really any devices I can think of that have scored lower. There is a Pro version with 2 gig of RAM and a few with, I think, slightly newer chipset. But from what I've seen, that only scores 1300. So don't necessarily be thinking the Pro version is going to solve all the problems that I might talk about as far as the performance of the device. The screen itself is a 720p screen, which, I don't know, you might be saying 720p? The year's 2016, that's ridiculous. But actually, 720p, I mean, look, I think that's fine. It's still a very good screen, I think. It produced, on my test, 526 lumens, which isn't bad. I mean, it's not good, I can't lie, but it's not bad. It's enough, let's say that. You may have spotted while I pulled the back off, it has two micro SIM slots there, and a micro SD card slot, which a lot of people find a necessity. It does have a built-in radio, but you need earphones. I guess it uses the earphones as the aerial. I haven't tried it. It has a speaker down at the bottom there, which is actually, it's the loudest speaker I've tested. I can't believe it. It was so loud. Almost to the point sometimes it almost hurt in your ears a little bit. Now, the quality of it is not so great. But again, you're not going to hear it too well from my directional mic. But we'll use the voice one, the bit of a podcast as a. Essentially gave organizations like GCHQ and the NSA a free rein. I'm going to point it at my mic for a second. It also overturned a lot of the rules and laws, and now we're in the situation where people are clamoring for the Googles and the Facebooks and the Twitters to lock. Tell me where to go. Tell me what to do. I'll be right there for you. So I don't know how well that's going to work through this microphone, but I mean, it is really, really loud. Like I said, it's the top scoring speaker I've done. But the quality, not so great. There's not much bass there. It's quite tinny. And I think that's the bit that kind of almost hurts your ears sometimes, the sort of the high pitch bit that just gets right on in there. The things that it's missed. Oh, I should mention, sorry, it's got a very fast GPS. So I did my GPS test in my head-to-head against the Umi Roam, and it locked on in literally a matter of seconds. Really very fast GPS. It doesn't have 4G. The Pro version does. But obviously, yeah, you get 3G and in many ways that's actually fine. I was watching YouTube videos at the gym. It did pause a couple of times. No, once, sorry, just the once. And that's, I was watching YouTube videos for 20 minutes. Apart from that, it played 720p without any problems at all. I guess you would say, obviously, it doesn't have NFC. It doesn't have wireless charging. I think you can forgive that when you're paying £35 for a phone. The camera's 2 megapixel on the front and 5 megapixel on the rear. Generally, I don't think they capture colours very well. They look a little washed out. Generally, the quality of stills, as I'll show you some examples, isn't great, and the video isn't great either. But again, we have to sort of remember this is a £35 phone. If we mention the software, you might notice that it's basically stock Android, which I think is fantastic. I give them full credit. I mean, it probably saves them time not having to program their own software, and I just prefer it. It's a lot better. I can tell you, I don't have the sort of delayed notification issues I had on some Chinese import devices, where it doesn't tell me all day that I've had a Hangout message, for example. This seemed to be very, very quick with letting me know about notifications. It has, as I'm just showing you, it has the Play Store pre-installed as well, and why not? It's on stock Android. I do like things like we've got gesture unlock. So in this case, double tap to wake. Let's just quickly show you some of the other. I did find it would occasionally wake up in my pocket, so I used it at the gym, and there was a few times I put it out of my pocket and it had been woken up. So it's not perfect, but there's all these slide up to unlock, slide down to camera, side slip, cut, song, paint, all kind of, you see them? Painting, playing, start messaging, start Play Store, and you can turn them on and off as you wish. But yeah, I thought that's pretty good. Again, on a £35 device, double tap to unlock. Love it. Brilliant. Where is it? There's also system gestures, which again, I didn't really use these or try these, to be honest. But yeah, if someone rings you, flip your phone over, it silences. If you're talking to someone on the phone, you put it down, it should turn the speaker on. Another thing, you can see there, scheduled power on and off. I quite like that, especially on a budget device. It's probably quite handy to have it shut down and boot back up again later on, just to know that it's keeping things kind of fresh and clean. I couldn't get this bit to work. I think it's about waving your hand over the sensors, but I was trying to turn on the unlock one. But so even if we turn it on and then it doesn't actually unlock, and it's definitely not about sort of turning the power on. So I'm not sure. I don't know what. Maybe I'm being silly. I've not seen that one before, so not sure how it works. So the software, I would say, is a strong point. Definitely. Why don't more? If Xiaomi sold their devices with stock Android, I'd be much more keen to use them. Basically, the battery is only 2,400 milliamp hours. Now you might say, well, it's only a 720p screen, so it doesn't need a lot. But I found it wasn't particularly good. So I used it at the gym. I woke up around 6ish. I was off down the gym and came home. I was home about 9:15, and I'd used basically half of the battery. In my test, it scored the worst out of anything. So my test lasts an hour, playing video, reloading a web page every 30 seconds. It did the worst it has out of any device. I've only tested about 7 on my new test, but it came down to like 79% in an hour, so that's pretty bad. On the plus side, so I mentioned, it doesn't have fast charging, but because it's only 2,400 milliamp hours, I charged from 26% to 100% only in an hour and 20, so that's pretty good. So it's not. I don't know how to conclude. My biggest concerns would be the camera and the overall processing power. So it does get a bit laggy. Let me think what some of the things I was trying to operate, and probably in true Android Andy fashion, it'll be. So you see, it's a little bit laggy there. So I mean that doesn't appear to be too bad. Let's just try a few other things. So when I was at the gym, I can't really emulate. I suppose I could go in and start trying to log things. It just seemed a little. There were times when. So you see, that was a little bit of lag there, and this is it running, and it's probably at its best that I've seen for a while. So there are times that you tap things, and you're almost not sure it's actually registered that it's doing things. Now I only booted this up maybe an hour or so back, so I've not really done a lot with it before just doing this review now. And why is it doing this again? I've done this once already, I thought. So maybe because of that, it's actually running slicker and quicker than I did experience when I was using it kind of as a main device for sort of 24 hours or so. So I mean, I wouldn't say at the minute. I couldn't find out to actually make it swipe, but in the settings I just couldn't find. Tezzy. So yeah, I mean, as I say, it's performing nicely for me now. But like I say, I did find when I was using it over a prolonged period, it did seem to start struggling with things, and I was tapping something, and then I'd have to wait and see. Let's try a couple of other bits and just see if we can. Yeah, I mean, this is generally being, I would say, pretty responsive. Let's have. Yeah, so I don't know. Definitely when I'd been using it for a day, I could feel it slowing down and giving me problems. Maybe I should have just rebooted it at that point. The battery, that might just be me, because I've read other people's comments saying that they thought the battery life was pretty good. So maybe it's just how I was using it or how I have it set up. The speaker, as I mentioned, is very loud. The quality, not great. The design and look mean that you won't be embarrassed to use it. I think it's quite a nicely designed phone. No one's gonna. I don't think anyone would know you'd only spent £35 on it. I think it's great that it's on stock Android, so there's no issues with some of the other imports that I have. And like I said, the bottom line is this is £35. £35 on Amazon Prime. You almost can't. If you've only got one phone, it's almost worth just buying one of these just in case. Just in case you drop yours in the toilet, just in case it gets run over by a bus. That's the black one. The white one is, I think, 43. The Pro version is 64. So if you wanna splash out a whole £64, you might have a slightly better experience with the 2 gig of RAM and the slightly quicker chipset. Although I'm not convinced looking at I did have a quick look at results for I've lost my train of thought, Geekbench score, and they were still only about 1300. I think the Pro comes with a 16 gig storage though, as game because 8 could be, that is a bit restrictive. But if it's just a backup device or maybe a device for your kids, £35. I'll drop a link down below to buy it from Amazon. If you're going to buy one, I would ask just please do use that link because I'll get a few pennies. So I know I started very negative in the fact that I couldn't really, if I'm honest, bear to use it for very long. I felt I got a good feel for things. There was a few things I missed, and I apologise. But when you've got a perfectly good Note 5 sitting right next to it, it's hard to keep using this device, especially when you have to use it at work. And it's quite important that you do want quite a fast, slick interface. So I would love to hear your thoughts and comments. As I say, I know I've been very negative in places, but I still think for £35 it's an amazing purchase. I'll definitely be looking out. It's the first Doogee device I've used. I'll definitely be looking out for others. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. My name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.